Good day. This is Lucina, and welcome to the CNCF-CI working group call. We'll give folks just a few more minutes and start at 5 past the hour. I'll paste into the Zoom chat the link to the agenda and meeting notes. Please feel free to add your name, email address, and any agenda items you'd like to discuss today. So this is the monthly CNCF-CI working group Zoom call. These calls are recorded and meetings are published on the CNCF YouTube channel. There's a link provided in the meeting minutes. So far on the agenda for today, we'll review upcoming events for Q4. I'm also happy to share the V3 updates as well as updates to the CNCF.CI status dashboard initiative from June to present. We also like to share the roadmap for Q4, and we welcome any feedback and collaboration on these goals as well. And Ed from Packet, who I don't currently see on the call, he wanted to touch on the projects that run on ARM that are showing on the CNCF.CI dashboard to learn what's preventing each project from going to green and what reporting may help assess and accelerate progress. If there's any other topics, please feel free to add to the list. It's an hour-long call, so we should have plenty of time. Cool. So some upcoming events. In a week is Open Source Summit in France. The CNCF.CI initiative will not have a presence there, but we do have a keynote from Priyanka at GitLab. So if anyone's joining, please feel free to add your sessions if you're presenting, or anything else that you'd be interested in sharing or think it's worth folks knowing about at Open Source Summit this month. And then, of course, in 4 weeks, KubeCon CloudNativeCon North America is happening in San Diego. And the CNCF-CI dashboard will have an intro and a deep dive. We're also interested in all of the intros and deep dives for the CNCF-hosted projects. If you've seen the Twitter handle at CNCF-CI, we are interested in your topics and we're sharing them. So hopefully you'll have good attendance at KubeCon.
Hey, Lucina, it's Philippe here. Who else from the team is going to be there in Lyon, in France, next week?
On the CNCF-CI team, no one.
Okay.
Will you
yeah,
be
I will be there as well because I have meetings later part of the week, but I will be there Tuesday, Friday.
Will you be at KubeCon in San Diego by chance?
I will.
Oh, wonderful. Great. We're looking forward to collaborating with you and meeting up with you at KubeCon.
Yeah, and I will follow up with you with regard to the blog as well at some point.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you. Oh, and we haven't forgotten. We've been, we just released the 3.0, which I'll share on Friday. The Friday release to production. It happened. It went well. So that's what our last week was primarily focused on. There's some co-located events at KubeCon, and some members of the CNF Testbed Initiative will be presenting at NSMCon, Network Service Mesh Con. That's on Monday, November 18th, and it is sold out, but there's a waiting list available. You can click through in the meeting notes if you're interested to learn more about that. Seems like there's also a hackathon hosted at Qualcomm on Monday the 18th, so that looks interesting. Oh, and I forgot, the weekend before KubeCon, there's the Cloud Native Rejects. Has anyone on the call been selected to present at that conference?
I think Ed at Packet may be able to comment more on that. I don't know if he's online now, because I think he's been there on the past.
I am online. Thanks, Philippe. Yes, Rejects. Packet is one of the sponsors of that, but more generally, it accepts papers that have been rejected at KubeCon because there's so many good presentations that there just was not space for. So that's the goal of that event.
That sounds great. Thank you for sponsoring that. Sounds like a nice lead up to KubeCon to hear. Yeah, I think the acceptance rate was 12% for KubeCon, so it's wonderful to have another outlet to hear what everyone's working on. The next CNCF-CI working groups coincide with holiday weeks, so I'm not quite sure what we should do. So the next one would be November 26th. That's the week after KubeCon, and it's also Thanksgiving week. I'll be out of the office. Will anyone be available to lead that call, or as a group, would we like to cancel that?
Well, folks in Europe, we don't do Thanksgiving, so, but that's, I guess majority is from the US, so I will let you speak to it. I think moving after or before after Thanksgiving is probably better because you won't get many people from the US to attend, I guess.
That Tuesday before Thanksgiving is typically a pretty busy travel day if folks are traveling.
Right.
If we cancel that, then the next one would fall on Christmas Eve holiday, which is also a day when folks may be out and unavailable. So then we may be looking at the next one in January.
Could you do one first week of December otherwise?
That's a possibility. I'll add that as an action item to look into the calendar and see if we could move it to the first week of December. Excellent. So with the logistics and upcoming events out of the way, I'd love to share some updates about the CNCF-CI initiative. Here's a review of the efforts on CNCF.CI from June to September. We, as some folks on the call may know, we've added ARM support to the graduated projects on CNCF-CI, builds and deploys. And in June, we wrapped up with Envoy. In May, we added CloudNativeCon, Fluentd, and Prometheus, and Kubernetes. We also have had a large effort to change how KubeSpray and our hardware is provisioned. It was done in one step, and it was also using a custom solution by the CNCF-CI team called CrossCloud. This was done before the KubeADM and KubeSpray were available. And now that those are available community tools, we've been working to move towards using KubeADM, KubeSpray, and in the near future, Kind, to provision CloudNS for the CNCF-CI dashboard. And our release 3.0, which was released on Friday, was the culmination of those efforts. So each month we worked a bit towards decoupling the Kubernetes and hardware provisioning, initial testing of KubeSpray and GitLab with ARM images, and using Containerd instead of Docker for the runtime, and integrating the new hardware provisioning with the new Kubernetes infrastructure. We also added a few additional enhancements to primarily support external contributions to CNCF-CI. We're making it easier and documenting the steps in which a graduated or incubating project could help add their projects, project information, release names, and build status, and then in the near future, deploy status and end-to-end test results, so that all of the CNCF-hosted incubating and graduated projects could be reflected at a glance on CNCF.CI. And so to do that in July, we started adding support. We added the project type headers and alphabetizing the projects by graduated or incubating. We also added Linkerd 2. We had Linkerd 1, and we added Linkerd 2 using our external plugin for Travis CI. So we're now using the build status from Travis CI for Linkerd 2. This was our first project using that integration. And the second project using the Travis CI integration will be Jaeger. We're watching the votes to see Jaeger promote from incubating to graduated. And so we're hoping to have Jaeger undergraduated projects on the CNCF-CI dashboard in time for KubeCon, and that will be using their Travis CI build status.
So, Lucina, since you've been experimenting with Containerd as well, when do you think that will be added to the dashboard?
Yes, Containerd has been added to the test environment area of the dashboard. We're now using Containerd instead of Docker. And we have in planning, we're planning the UI change on how we can see Containerd, their icon and their name reflected in the test environment. And currently we're using the stable version of Containerd, and we would like to iterate on that in future versions to allow the user to configure which version of Containerd they'd like to test on. So in the test environment, we currently have the radio button options for Kubernetes stable or the latest head release, and architecture options, x86 and ARM. And in planning now, and I'll be able to share the mock today, I believe, we're also going to have a column for Containerd so that the user will be able to see that we're using the stable release now, and the head release will be NA for our MVP, but we hope to add that support so that the user can configure their Containerd release as well. So that'll be reflected at the top of the screen under test environment.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Good question. Let's see. In August, we added Containerd 2 with Travis CI external plugin. And then in September, we added those radio button controls. We were working with a dropdown, but that didn't show at a glance what the test environment configuration options were. We're hoping now that this UI has the radio buttons. You can toggle between stable and head of Kubernetes and ARM and x86 and see which projects run on ARM and see the provision, the test environment provisioning status above, and then see the build status and the deploy status for the projects. So on the dashboard, you can see I have ARM selected. The graduated projects will show build and deploy as long as the build stage passed. If the build stage did not pass, then we do not try the deploy. And the Linkerd 2, we've not yet added ARM support for that project. So on the roadmap this month, we have released 3.0. So that was the refactoring of our provisioning stage. So we are now using KubeSpray and KubeADM instead of the custom cross-cloud provisioner tool. We've added Containerd behind the scenes, and we have a new UI to show that Containerd is in use for our next release. We're using the latest stable and upstream Kubernetes artifacts. So another big improvement is we are up to date showing the latest stable version of Kubernetes in our test environment. And we'll be adding, so our goal was to add one new project using the Travis CI integration, at least one new project. And we've taken a look at Jaeger's build status and Travis CI, and we are getting started on integrating with Jaeger. So you'll be seeing Jaeger soon, undergraduated projects in alphabetical order, underneath Fluency and above Prometheus. And we're going to start with a x86 architecture support. Next month, I think the kinds plugin we may need to defer to next month. We wanted to make it easier for contributors, external contributors from the CNCF-hosted projects to help add their project, and we anticipate adding a kind plugin for the test environment provisioning so that the projects can have access to their own cluster while testing. So that's on our roadmap. We'd also like to add a second new project using the Travis CI integration, which appears to be maybe Vitess or Nats. And we'd also like to create a Circle CI integration or a second CI integration. We'll take a look at if Circle CI is the next best choice. There's also we've seen a shift. Linkerd 2 recently shifted from Travis CI to GitHub CI. So we're going to be taking a look at and talking to the projects to see if they're also making that move over to GitHub. And if so, we may prioritize the GitHub CI over Circle CI as the second plugin integration. And then of course we'll be at KubeCon, and we'll have our intro session and our deep dive session on the CNCF.CI dashboard. The deep dive topic is currently planned for how to add a new project to CNCF-CI using the Travis CI build status. So if you're involved with a CNCF-hosted project, incubating or graduated, or soon to be incubated or graduated, and you are using Travis CI, we welcome your attendance. We'd love to get your feedback and participation in that deep dive session. And then in December, we'd like to add another new project using the Circle CI or the next best CI integration plugin. We'd love to collaborate on adding end-to-end test results to the dashboard, as currently we have a column for them. And they're NA, so we'd love to collaborate with the projects to see how to best add the E2E test results to the dashboard. And then last but not least, we'd love to work on the stateful URLs so that the URL of the CNCF-CI will change depending on which test environment is selected. So as an example, I currently have Kubernetes stable and x86, and I would expect to see some kind of parameter at the end of the CNCF-CI so that it would show stable and x86. The one barrier to that is we're not saving historical data, and so that's part of having stateful URLs. We'd like to work on adding backups, adding historical data, and also determining the best amount of time. How long should we keep the data? A week or a month or a year, so that when you share that URL, it goes to the day and the jobs that you would expect. And Ed, I know that this is a feature, an enhancement that you were asking about yesterday. Do you have any preferences on how long you would like those links to be active?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I wonder, how you're going to do it, and I wonder if there's some useful time series that you can generate that would help us rewind the clock to like when a build that used to be green turned red. When was that? I know you're thinking about historical data. It probably doesn't make I probably don't have any value of looking at something a year and a half old, but maybe in a 30 to 90 day time frame, it would be useful to be able to go back and say, okay, Prometheus was green up until such a date, what changed? Or something like that. I'm just trying to think of other systems I've used that have exposed this sort of data and try to think about how it might get visualized. Any suggestions would be welcomed for that.
I'd probably say that at least, unless it's requested, that we wouldn't save beyond the latest stable releases that are being maintained. So I don't think we need to, for instance, show history of builds for Kubernetes 1.9 or 1.10. It's usually a set of releases, so that would kind of put some maximum amount.
Yeah, I agree with that, Taylor, and just want to sort of balance, I missed a day, what did I miss kind of usefulness of this. I agree that going back to historical releases probably doesn't add value that we would want to add.
Thank you so much. We'll continue planning that feature. We anticipate it would be after KubeCon. And we do have it on our roadmap for December. So yeah, those are a lot of good considerations. I appreciate the 30 to 90 days. That can help us, especially with backups and cost associated with any data that we may be saving. All right. So our 3.0 release that was released on Friday replaced CrossCloud with KubeSpray. Kind support will be next. Currently planning add new project with Travis CI integrations, continuing with Jaeger. And the roadmap is available on the CrossCloud repo in GitHub for the most up-to-date version. We welcome your feedback on features like the stateful URLs, as well as if you are interested in adding your project, we can help you get started with that. And any other enhancements or features that you'd like to see on the CNCF-CI dashboard. Does anyone have any questions or feedback suggestions for the CNCF.CI dashboard at this time?
Hi, Lucina. This is Colin from the NATS team. We are actually in the process of migrating from Travis to GitHub Actions, and we're expecting this to take the next several months. We have over 30 repos. Have you done any work in this area?
Thanks, Colin. Thanks for joining today. That's good to know. Oh yeah, we recently saw that Linkerd 2 also moved from Travis CI to GitHub. We haven't yet built the integration or the plugin using GitHub Actions, so I will ask Taylor or Denver, also from the CNCF.CI team, on your thoughts on that.
Okay, just curious, no rush at this point. Like I said, we've got many repos to move over, but we're experimenting at this point.
Part of the goals with some of the refactoring for the CI portion, the CI integration to the status was to make it where we could work with multiple backend CI systems. So Travis was the first, mainly because the project it just happened to set up everything kind of best defaults. We want to keep adding. So NATS is on the list, but primarily because it was Travis and we were looking at adding it next. But if y'all are moving to GitHub Actions and Linkerd 2 is there, sounds like more are there, then it may up the priority for us to get the GitHub integration. It is on the goal. It's just the priority wise when are we going to do it.
Oh, cool.
And the integration is the way this works is there's a generic part that ties into the tool for the CI proxy that talks to the rest of the dashboard and system. And that one, if anyone's interested, they could help contribute to those. And then there's the project side, which is the configuration, like what is the GitHub CI URL, or Travis or Circle or whatever else, and all the different components so that we can find where do the actual builds happen. The main thing is that the projects have public facing CI status, and that seems to be the case for, any one of these projects by the time you get through incubating and graduating. So y'all haven't decided though, Colin? If y'all are gonna switch, just trying it out?
We're trying it out at this point. We've got one repo actually moved over, and I have to say it's pretty slick. But to get our main servers over and stuff, I'll need to double check with Derek, but I'm pretty sure that's in our plans.
Okay. Sounds good.
Hi, this is Ginger. I'm also from the NATS team. I work with Colin.
Hey, Ginger.
How you guys, how do you select which projects you're going to add to the dashboard? So like you're going to work on Jaeger next. Is that just because they're graduating, or why are you adding them next?
We look at the level. So we start with graduated, and then we look at which ones were added to CNCF first, and based on the projects list, Jaeger is the next project that is an application level project that has been added to CNCF.
Okay.
And then beyond that, it's based on integration. So if we said we can add a project maybe in the list based on graduated and when they were added, but we have no integration, but we have an incubating or another one that's right after that, we may decide to prioritize because we can add them.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Ginger.
Thank you so much. Yes, and in our roadmap, we didn't see the move to GitHub Actions happening, I think, when we created the roadmap. And so now that that has happened, we started with Travis CI, and hopefully we'll have, hopefully Jaeger is staying on Travis CI. We'll have to reach out to them. And if more projects in the graduated and incubating level are moving over to GitHub Actions, then we may switch the priority of the next CI system integration from, say, Circle CI to, we may prioritize GitHub Actions if it is a more popular choice amongst the graduated and incubating projects. Thank you so much. That concludes my update. So there are lots of ways to get connected with the CNCF CI team. On GitHub, we're under our old name, CrossCloud CI. On Twitter, CNCF CI. There's also a CNCF-CI Slack channel under the CNCF org. And you can also email us at cncfci@volk.coop. The next item on our agenda here, Ed, would you like to talk about CNCF CI on ARM?
Yes, thanks, Lucina. So one of the things that I do as I look at the CNCF CI dashboard from time to time and notice the relative state of projects, red or green, is dig a little bit more into the projects that are showing red to try to figure out, essentially what is it that is blocking the project from going green, and further, trying to figure out like where in the process that failure to build could be usefully opened up as a conversation with someone, as a ticket in some system, as an observation on a mailing list, what have you. And I think that when builds fail, of course, there could be hundreds or thousands of reasons for a build to fail. But I think it would be helpful to think through and put on the roadmap at some level along the way some kind of best next step if things go wrong, so that an issue could be properly raised in a channel that would be welcome to get it. Whether that be a Slack channel, whether that be GitHub or a GitLab or what have you, issue tracker, what have you. And I don't want to suggest a particular user interface change or anything, but just to open up the notion that if something is broken, triaging the brokenness to figure out whether it's a internal issue that some part of the system didn't work, or whether it's actually a project problem that someone might be newly aware of. And I guess I'll open that back up to you, Lucina. Any suggestions specifically for things, or any comments in general on what the feedback loop is looking back to projects when builds don't succeed?
Thank you, Ed. We were just talking about that today and yesterday when we were talking about how can we engage external maintainers and how can we engage the CNCF projects for both adding and maintaining the projects on the CNCF CI dashboard. So, and we're also internally, we are working on our monitoring and our alerting as well. So I love the idea of the GitHub issue. And part of our onboarding when we'll be engaging with the CNCF graduated incubating projects to add and also integrate with their existing CI system is we'll be getting a list of folks who maintain the projects and who are interested in helping maintain the status of their builds and deploys here on CNCF CI. And I think it may be a project by project basis, because we wouldn't want to force if we're going to do Slack, or I think that the minimum though, we should have a issue on the cross-cloud GitHub repo. So in the footer, you can report a bug. And then it takes you to the cross-cloud CI dashboard issues. And yeah, so then you could report your issue there. When you do see a failure, it takes you to the existing GitLab pipeline that we're using internally. And this one says the build did not complete successfully. So there are some times when it is an internal because of the refactoring and the changes with KubeSpray. Then there are times when if you looked at the external build, it also failed. So that's a good point. Like how can we visually see that this is the build status from the project and it failed, and how can we alert them in case they didn't notice or in case they are not aware. And then there are some cases where we're in the process of change and there are some action items that we need to take. So with that in mind, Denver or Taylor, do you have any ideas on why things would be failed first, and then how we'd want to engage beyond a GitHub issue? Sorry, Taylor, you may be muted.
I am, apparently. Can you hear me? I was?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Yeah, unfortunately, in the current version of GitLab, adding any type of additional information is not built in. There may be plugins or something, but with GitHub, it's a little bit easier to associate builds and other things. Even like Travis, you're looking at a failed build and then go to a commit and kind of start linking everything back and the issues. But there's some problems with GitLab on that. So I'd say that first iteration is to make sure that whatever you're seeing in GitLab is very visible in the CNCF-CI issue board, so that people can drop probably the URL. So you're looking at that job number, you should be able to search for that. Or if you scroll to the top and you have the title, we should have that information. I guess that just is the job, but anyways, it's the pipeline I think I was thinking of. So if we have that information, and Ed, you're looking at this and you're able to hop over and search in the CNCF-CI issue board, and you say, oh, okay, we have this, and it looks like we've added 5 jobs, and it's an issue, maybe that we're migrating to the new infrastructure, then okay, that's fine. It's at least known. Or if there's something like Denver noticed today, where there's an upstream issue on a project with the build changed and waiting on that fix. But maybe we don't have to do that. But I think the searching is the first part. What I was saying earlier on this screen that Lucina's showing on right now, there's no real way, unfortunately, that we can annotate or add additional info. If you go look at the list of jobs or the list of pipelines, it's pretty minimal. And we've had similar issues just internally that we've wanted, where we'd love to be able to annotate the pipelines and say, this is for x86, Kubernetes 1.14. You can see it there if you go and look at those release deals information. So we could potentially put some stuff in here, but this is all beforehand. So that stuff that Lucina is showing, you can see it says the project and the organization, and we have a lot of other information. But actually annotating after the job is done, Denver, do you know if we can update the environment variables after a job is run?
No.
So that yeah, I didn't think so. We're hoping to, with the switch on the external CI, one of the tickets that we have in the queue is to have the status buttons on the dashboard. When you click them, instead of it going to the job that Lucina was just showing, if you click one of these, it would go to the CI system. So for Nats, when we get Nats on, it would go to Travis, if you're still on Travis, or it would go to the Google CI. Linkerd would be that. We'll be adding Jaeger, and once we have Jaeger, ideally that'll go to the Travis CI, etc. I think that'll help a little bit, Ed, with what we're talking about. It's a little difficult, though, to have the integrations from the system-wise and the status, but tickets, I think the ticket is like another level of annotation.
Thanks, Taylor. I think that illustrates some of the challenges of direction and indirection in these sort of systems, and I'm confident that if if I'm confused, I can always hit the open a bug thing at the bottom of the screen. And even if it's not the perfect place to note something, it is a valid place to note something, and we can help chase down the best place to note it after the bug has been described in some kind of useful way.
Yeah, for sure. Opening a bug based on a failed job sounds great. And then if there's a duplicate, then we'll roll that one in. Or if it looks like it's the same as another. And of course, if you see that, okay, it looks like this one was the same as we had 3 days ago because you noticed it, then adding the job again seems reasonable. So as comments is failed again. Yep.
Right, and I think you have the GitHub suggest a related topic turned on there, which should reduce the number of duplicates that we get if that's what people try to do.
Nice. One thing that I can think of maybe for future brainstorming is when we get historical data in place for part of this, there's a lot of other features that we're wanting with the historical data besides stateful URLs. And if we have those, then potentially we can annotate the data or have a related data set for tickets. So we may have some way to associate tickets. And then if you're looking at like an issue or something that maybe we've had UI mocks in the past of other screens that we would like to have, as well as like some different menus and views that can overlay the main data that you see. And I could see it useful, since we're talking about status, is maybe if you're looking at either the current or if maybe from 3 days ago there was a failure and someone has annotated or they've added a ticket that references the failed job. It would be great if the dashboard showed that, and then you see the failed job and you have maybe a link over to the actual issue that's open. And I think that would be something possible if we're saving data. It doesn't really make sense if it's disappearing every day, because the only place again is GitLab, and that doesn't really work out whenever we start moving to having the links go directly to the project CI systems. So ideally we have some type of a layer above, which is where we're going with historical data. But the reason why we have the status repository, it sits in front. So all of the data that's showing right now on the dashboard doesn't come, it originates directly from a status repo. And what we need with that is just save the data. And then we can start annotating it and adding additional information.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to continuing to look forward to how this set of features changes and evolves.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. And Ed, I meant to thank you again for your help with finding the best location and region for the ARM machines for our test environment. They've been green success ever since.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. And I continue to keep my eyes out for any day where we get too much red on the hope that a small change on the packet side yields a large impact on the project success.
It certainly does. When we have any configuration, either stable in x86, stable ARM, head x86, or head ARM, that fails the provisioning stage, then all of the deploy will be NA. So we wouldn't even try it. So having the successful test environment provisioning ensures that we have more active badges in our deploy column. And I believe the team is aware of this Prometheus app deploy issue and will be addressing it this week, if it's not already addressed. We've got about 5 minutes left on our time for this call. Would anyone else like to add anything to the agenda, have any questions or feedback? Colin and Ginger, I thank you so much for joining today. Knowing that NATS is starting the migration away from Travis CI and onto GitHub Actions lets us know that we'll hold on adding the Travis CI integration for NATS, and we'll take a look, and we're excited to see how you're enjoying the GitHub Actions, how it's working out for you. And then we'd like to circle back and see if the GitHub Actions is the next best CI system that we should be focused on.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting us, and we'll be happy to share you know, how it works out.
That's great. Will you be at KubeCon San Diego?
Yeah, we will. We will. I think we have a lot of the team there. So
Oh, excellent.
We do have a NATS booth. Feel free to stop by.
Hey, there you go. Sounds good. Taylor, any final thoughts?
Nope. Looking forward to collaborating with everyone. And I'll stop by the NATS booth.
Thanks, everybody. I'll give you your 5 minutes back, and feel free to ping us on Slack, email, GitHub, if anything comes to mind regarding the CNCF-CI initiative. And have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Good day.
Bye, guys.
Likewise.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.